Hey guys, it's Miss Young. We're going to be taking some notes today on the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s. So get your pencils ready. Alright, so here we have a picture of the United States. You can obviously see that we have three different regions. Something I want to go ahead and point out really quick is notice we have already acquired this land. This was under the Treaty of Paris of 1783. That was our treaty that ended the American Revolution. So this is the 13 colonies and now considered the 13 states. Shortly after that, let me go ahead and add in the Mississippi River really quick. You can see that. So we got our Mississippi River. Okay. So at that point, everything in here was considered United States all the way over. Okay. And then at some point, 1803, specifically under Thomas Jefferson, we got the Louisiana Purchase. Then we had Florida in 1819 with the Adam-Onis Treaty. We had then Texas annexation, which obviously I've screwed that up already. Texas annexation here. Let's see, we have the Oregon Territory. Okay, that peaceful treaty with Britain. Then we have the Mexican cession here, which was under the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Remember, we decided to kind of pick a fight with them and gave us a reason to expand our ownership of land as much as we possibly could with that idea of manifest destiny. And we ended up getting that chunk of land after the U.S.-Mexican War, and we gave them $10 million. Or excuse me, $15 million. Then, of course, we have the Gadsden Purchase right here. We bought that from Mexico for $10 million because we wanted to be able to take a railroad through it that could get us from here all the way to here. So imagine that red line as the railroad, and that's it's a huge deal for all these cotton factories over here trying to get goods to over to this western portion of the country. So what you need to kind of know about these three regions, okay? First of all, they do have specific names. We have the North, obviously, okay, and it is primarily factories. We then have the South, which is predominantly plantations and farms. And then we now have the West, where you have tons of mining, not just gold mining, or it was many different types of minerals, and you're going to learn more about that here in a little bit. So today I want you to, while you take notes, you're going to be learning about what are some economic facts. Some economic facts, and that's what do they make for money? What do they do to make money? We're also going to learn the social facts about each region. In other words, what are the people like? What's going on? Who's there? And what are they doing? Okay. We're also going to cover the geographical facts about each region. So is it good soil, bad soil? Does it have rivers? Is it dry? Is it moist? You know, how does it contribute? And then how does this geographic contribute to the economic factors? That's a big connection we have to be able to make once this is all said and done. So just get ready to move along to the next slide so that we can start jotting down some notes.
All right, so let's take a look at the economic facts in the North. So here we have the free enterprise system spurred the Industrial Revolution because machines are allowing businesses to grow. So the free enterprise system is the opportunity to create your own business without the fear of government interference or regulation. And so when people started to get into having different types of technology or machinery, they could then get into a business and not worry about the government shutting them down. Early Industrial Revolution, it encouraged transportation systems, laborers, opportunities for business because of that free enterprise system. It was dominated by factories here in the North, because remember, if you go all the way back to September, we talked about how the northern or New England colonies had very poor soil. The weather did not allow for a long growing season, so it only had a short growing season. So this is not typically where the farming took place. And eventually, as technology came about with the different steamboats, steam power, river power factories, you see that this is where Industrial Revolution kind of spawns. So factories were originally powered by flowing rivers, as you can see on the picture. Shipping centers and some small farms took place here, but again, mostly going to be factories. You have steam power machines, increased production, and the growth of factories. So here's an example of a steam engine, okay, on a train and how it works. You have the coal, you have it heating up the water, the pressure from the steam pushes the piston, which turns the crankshaft, and the cycle continues. So factories made products more efficient rather than being made at home by hand. So if you were to sew a quilt by hand, well, your lines aren't going to be as straight and their measurements aren't going to be as accurate. But when you have a machine, it's more efficient. You're going to have straight lines and so on. So the products were better made. And the steam engine improved life by transporting these efficient goods. You could get them to and from places much faster by means of the train with the steam engine. And it spurred the steel industry because you had to lay tracks. Laying those tracks, they were made out of steel, and so you start, here in a minute you'll see a map of how much the railroad system spread, which means that's the steel industry spreading and the steam engine being used more often. And it opened up the market for goods and businesses to move out into other parts of the country. And then, of course, interchangeable parts allowed for mass production. So interchangeable parts, we've briefly discussed this. Remember where you have, like nowadays, it's nothing to, your car breaks down, you go to a pick a parts, you go find a piece, or you go to O'Reilly's and you get a new carburetor or whatever it is, and you just exchange it out. Prior to interchangeable parts, that didn't happen. If something broke down on your machine, you had to get a whole new machine because the parts were made by hand, and you cannot make an identical part by hand. Okay, so once you had the mass production of interchangeable parts, then you had a metal stamp, which would stamp hot metal, molten metal, and it was the exact same as the one that was stamped before it, and so on and so on. And so here we had the assembly line, and this is super important because this started to make production much faster. So here you have, let me get a color that you can see. Here we have different types of parts. So here's a part, here's a part, here's a part. And this person, her job is to put on one of these parts, and this guy puts on the next part, and this guy puts on another part, and this guy, that's what they do all day, every day. But it made it much faster because as these machines are rolling down this little belt, they're putting the parts on it that belong to it, and it's going to be way faster. And again, the parts are interchangeable, much more efficient. They don't have to worry about if it fits or not because it's going to fit. So make sure you wrap up the missing blanks and move on when you're done. All right, so let's look at social facts. So what's going on with the people? So industrialization caused people to move from farms to cities to find jobs. So here we have cities and the jobs. Just look how it's like a hustle and bustle. That's where you get the terms hustle and bustle in the cities, because look at it, just cars, or I guess what looks like old-timey cars are moving. You got bikes, you got people. I mean, it is hopping, okay? So this whole movement from the farms to cities is called urbanization. Urban is a fancy word for cities. Ization is movement. So movement to the cities. We also find in the northern social facts, women, children, and immigrants come from declining farms to work in the textile mills. Oh, we missed our picture. So we had children working in the factories to make cloth, and that was beneficial because they were real little, and they could fit between the machines, in between the parts of the machines, and fix it or grab whatever fell in. They got hurt very frequently because factory work, you had low wages, long hours, poor working conditions. You lost a finger, sorry, tape it up, keep going, because there's somebody waiting outside for the same job. You didn't ever want to show up late. You always made sure you were a good worker because they could take you or leave you, because there's always somebody looking for work. Immigrants also started to move to America and into the cities because they also needed jobs and were willing to work for lower wages than the actual Americans. So the Irish came to the United States because they potato famine. Famine means starvation. The potatoes over there, you see the picture, it shows how they were rotting very quickly, and that's a huge crop in Ireland, and many people died of starvation, and so people started to leave Ireland. Germans came here. They were leaving a bad government as well as famine. They brought cultural influences like kindergarten and polka music. The Chinese immigrants came here. They worked in California, in the gold fields, gold mines, and they also helped build the Western Railroad. They would dig onto the sides of mountains trying to build the tunnels so that the railroad could go through a mountain instead of around it. But because cities were starting to get so crowded, disease started to spread. So you can see here that you have 7 people living in a one-room apartment. Very, very crowded. Housing was minimal. As an immigrant, you usually came to America with little to no money, and you were willing to take any job and live anywhere just as long as you had a roof over your head. And so as long as you could make a little bit of money to feed your family, you would live just about anywhere. And families had to live together because, well, it was so crowded. The bonus here is that because products were so much more efficient and easier to get, which means they're cheaper, people began buying ready-made products like clothes because factories make them faster, which the faster you can make them, the cheaper they get. It's kind of like flat screen TVs. They used to be so expensive. And the cheaper they got to make, the more cheaper companies started to make them. And now they're really not that expensive. A TV that I bought when they first came out was like $1,000, and we got it for Christmas. That same TV is now $400. No, I'm sorry. I think it was like $298 this past Christmas. And I was like, what the heck? It's much cheaper. And also other luxury items like carpet became available for the middle class. Middle class means you're not rich, but you're not poor. You're still making ends meet, barely. But you don't skip a meal. So write everything you see and move on when you're done. All right, so now talk about northern geographical facts. So again, factories thrived here because of flowing rivers. Okay, so you can see our man in the map. I'm going to use green because he's already blue. So here's the Mississippi River. Here's his nose. Okay, here's his belly button. Remember, the belly button is where the Ohio River meets the Mississippi River. So we have our 2 rivers, and just look at how many rivers spawn off of those 2. Okay, the flowing rivers, plus poor rocky soil, plus the short growing season. This is why factories popped up here. Remember, you can transport goods along a river. And so if you have all these factories hopping up over here, they can transport these goods down the river and down this river to the Gulf of Mexico and get them out to South America and so on. Some environmental modifications that you see are man-made waterways like the Erie Canal. Oops, sorry, I forgot to show you our picture. There we go. More rivers use power to factories. So we had, Erie Canal. Here we have the Erie Canal. It's a 363 mile long man-made waterway. We literally dug it out, okay? And you connected this river to one of the Great Lakes. Really great opportunity to move product. The Erie Canal was originally basically mules pulling boats through the canal, and now we have, and then, eventually you had the steam engine created, so you had steamboats. But this is how it started out. You can kind of see the old-timey railroad car right here. So it's kind of neat. You see multiple means of transportation all in one picture. And then roadways allowed the north to expand the factories and spread west. So you can kind of see, some more of the Erie Canal. Okay, so write what you see, move on when you're ready. right, so let's take a look at the southern portion of the United States during this time period. If you will flip your paper over, should be on the right-hand side. Okay, so let's talk about what it is that they do to make money. That's your economic facts. What are they doing to make money? So in the South, you have plantations. These are large farms that typically would only grow one cash crop for the purpose of selling. And this is at the center of the economy. And these are huge farms, so large that they have to have slaves, or excuse me, they think that they need the slaves. And they do need the slaves. They need somebody to work the fields. They supplied all the cotton to the northern textile mills, all those factories you just got done learning about. And this also prompted the transatlantic slave trade because of you're trading raw goods, finished goods, and slaves all across the Atlantic Ocean. So if you think of the word transatlantic, it's the trading of goods, including slaves, across the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so here we have a plantation farmhouse. We have them, we have slaves working with a cotton gin. And then you send it to the textile mills in the north, where they run it through the machines. And notice you have the women working in the factories. It's mostly, I say mostly, it was a lot of women working in the textile mills. And then here we have our transatlantic slave trade. So traveling goods from Africa to North America, and we would give them, we were trading them goods and trade for slaves and so on. Finish up and move on when you're done. All right, social facts. So in the South, like I said earlier, plantations were primarily worked by slaves. Okay, so here you can see the slaves. The need for slaves increased due to the industrialized North needing more cotton. So as the North got more industry and more factories, the more they needed their cotton, which means the South was pretty excited because they're thinking, okay, we got to get some more slaves in here to start working the fields, to start picking cotton faster so that we can plow down and replant. Or the more money you make, the more land you can buy and the more cotton you can process. So the South increased their plantation because of the increase for slaves and that demand of cotton for the northern factories. The South provided the cotton, but like I just said, needed more slaves. And then we also have the cotton gin too. So when you have the invention of the cotton gin, everybody kind of thought slavery would go down, but it actually increased because all of a sudden it only took one slave to process the same amount of cotton in an hour. So let's say you have 50 pounds of cotton, and I'm just making up numbers. I don't know if this is legit, but they would process 50 pounds of cotton in an hour with the cotton gin versus 50 pounds of cotton in one day with one person. So you just increased your output of clean cotton to be transported to the north. And so that's again another reason why the people are going, oh my gosh, this invention just changed everything. Now we can have more slaves in the field picking cotton, which means I need more land because I get that cotton gin, and it only takes one guy to do the same work it takes one guy to do in a day. So huge bonus there for the South. Okay. So write with everything you see in yellow and move on when you're done. All right, geographical facts. So pretty much it's your plantation farms. A super fertile soil, longer growing season made the South better equipped for farming. We've been talking about this since the beginning of the year, how the southern colonies had great soil for farming. They had plantation farms then, and it hasn't changed. Just because time has changed does not mean the land has necessarily changed. It's still good soil. The climate is still the same, and they have lots availability for plantation farms. So predominantly where you have that mixed humid, but mostly the hot humid, right in there, in between the green and the orange is where you see a lot of those plantation farms taking place. Finish up and move on when you're done. All right, so now move over to the left side of your page. We're going to talk about the West. All right, so in the West, you have lots of farming, cheap land because it hasn't been discovered really yet. I mean, it's been discovered, but nobody really is there, so it's not like you can just, barter and jack the price up because, well, there's not a lot of people out there buying, and there's people who would want to sell it. A lot of mining going on, remember, where you would dig into the earth and find natural resources such as metal ores like gold and iron ores. This is where you have your California is part of the West. That's the gold rush. So here's a current map of all the different natural resources available in the West. All those dots represent different natural resources available. And so the yellow dot is gold. So you can just see how much gold is over there in California. Another example, we have gold deposits in the bottom map, and then tungsten deposits in the top map. And then here's just some guys who are gold miners or other type of miners. This is actually what my grandfather did. He was a coal miner, and this is tough work. You breathe in all the dust that you're stirring up, and not good. Not good for your body. Finish up and move on when you're done. All right, social facts. So many people move to the West because of overcrowded cities and an opportunity for cheap land. So if you think about the eastern coast over there by the Atlantic Ocean, where we all started out at the beginning of the school year, we talked about how that's where the United States kind of started as the northern or New England colonies, middle colonies, southern colonies. Well, it's over time, and then we become the United States. People are still coming in. It's getting really crowded. Remember, we talked about during the industrialization notes how the cities were super duper crowded, and you had immigrants coming in, and so the people who originally lived there, they're like, you know what, I'm getting tired of this. I hear about the good stuff in the West. Let's pack up and go. And so they did. They would pack up all their stuff from the city and move out to the West for cheaper land. Now, because we had railroads and canals, you then had quicker transportation to move and transport goods to and from the West. So you can see kind of all the little spider web of trains that would travel from what you can see right now, Missouri and Iowa and Arkansas, all spreading towards the West, towards Oregon and California. And this is like this is what it would look like. You'd have your horse and carriage all loaded up, family in tow, and stop for a nap or a couple days stay, just to not have to travel. Traveling by train. It's a pretty good invention. Really changed life. Think about the means of packing up your stuff and traveling, or transporting goods from your factory to a place that doesn't have stuff. This is why you were able to see cities pop up out in the West, because trains were transporting lumber and textiles out to the West so that you could build cities or towns like you would in the wild, wild West. Get it? You're in the West. Yeah, there's a reason we call them those things. And so here you see the Transcontinental Railroad. Okay, big railroads that revolutionized what we do as far as transportation. They were able to reach the far south, the far north, and the middle from the Atlantic Ocean, providing a way to reach the West. So you have right here. So you have from New York, you would be able to reach San Francisco, and from the East Coast. This would be considered the East Coast. From here in the northern region, you're able to reach the Washington State. Here in the south, from the Port of New Orleans, remember we talked about how important that is. You're able to get through here, get to California. Meanwhile, it's not just a straight shot. There are stops all along the way where you can get off of the train and set up a home, live in a new town. So finish what you see in yellow and move on when you're done. All right, last but not least, geographical facts. What is the land like? So we have cheap land. It is fertile soil, lots of natural resources for mining and farming. Gold mining increased river sediment. Okay, so let me explain that. So when the farmers would start to funnel the hillsides, or excuse me, funnel water and spray onto the hillside. So you can see you've got an old man here. You got looks like a younger dude here. Okay. And then all of a sudden you've got this, what looks like a hose. Now, how they managed to increase the amount of pressure is beyond me, because I know there's a science behind how to increase water pressure. I don't know how you do it back then. Nonetheless, they are spraying water onto the hillside. Now, their hope is that as they spray to the hillside, they will discover gold. But meantime, the water is going from here, spraying there, to running down, and anything that was not meant to stay, you know, if it wasn't heavy, if it wasn't a rock, rocks would typically just fall right there, but any other soil would rinse off into the river. So this increased the settlement into the rivers, because the soil sediment would run down the hillside and settle into those rivers. Oh, looky there. I was already prepared. All right, write what you see and wait for instruction.